What is a record label? The role and importance of record labels has been questioned in recent years, largely due to the emergence of label services businesses such as AWOL, Believe and Horus. Many artists these days are actively questioning whether or not they need to work with record labels at all, and point to artists like Chance the Rapper, Frank Ocean and Nipsey Hussle as examples that show that it's possible to be successful in the absence of major label support. However, whether or not an artist can achieve success independently of a label depends on a multitude of factors, from their financial situation to their previous experiences with the music industry. As such, it is still important for artists to understand what record labels do and what these labels expect to get from working with an artist. We will try to explain this briefly in this video. At their very core, record labels are companies who provide funding and support to artists to record music in exchange for a particular set of rights. These rights are known as the master rights, and they refer to the sound recordings made by a given artist. These rights are known as master rights because prior to the advent of digital audio recording software, sound recordings were made on physical tapes. These tapes were known as the master recordings because every physical record that went on to be sold in stores would be a copy made from these masters. Owning the rights to these, therefore, allowed the rights holder to exploit the master recordings for profit. Typically, the record label would acquire these master rights by striking a deal with the artist whereby the artist would agree to make these recordings in exchange for a share of the money made. This record deal would spell out the terms of exactly what the label had the right to do with the artist's music, and also what the artist would receive by way of compensation. This would include a commitment from the record label to try and make a success of the commercial release of the recordings, including trying to get press and radio on board to promote the release, perhaps financing tour costs, manufacturing of any physical copies of the record, and developing the artist and product so that the very best versions of these were put forward. Historically, artists tended to receive a minority share of the income generated, and some artists still have deals with this structure to this day. What persuaded the artists to sign these deals was typically a mix of the opportunity to pursue their dream profession, plus payment of their share of the profits of the deal in advance of the record even being released. This payment is known as an advance. An advance is a kind of soft loan provided by the record label. Like any loan, advances need to be repaid, but unlike a bank loan, this is done only from earnings generated by the terms of the record deal. So if your record release doesn't generate any revenue, the loan simply does not get repaid. This makes these loans very risky for record labels. As such, labels often build in a variety of ways to ensure they minimise their losses, such as recouping the costs of manufacturing and marketing the record from the artist's share of the revenue. This means that if a record costs £10,000 to promote, and the artist was paid £5,000 advance, then the artist will not see any further royalty payments until the record generates over £15,000. Since the advent of the streaming age, revenue from master rights has dropped dramatically. This means that record labels are less willing and able to invest in artists in the way that they have previously. One of the biggest changes has been to the structure of record deals. Since the master rights are not worth as much as they used to be, record labels have been willing to accept a reduced share of these rights. Many record deals today offer a 50-50 split with artists, which is a significantly better deal for artists in terms of the raw percentage. However, since the revenue generated is also smaller, artists are not necessarily going to be materially better off than they would have been if they achieved the same level of success in an earlier age. In practice, this is an impossibility, so this more equal split of revenue should be welcomed. That being said, record labels still need to find a way to make money. And one way they have done this is to start seeking to acquire a share of other rights and revenues. Perhaps the clearest example of this is with record labels who offer 360 deals, where they take a stated percentage of everything an artist earns, not just the revenue their masters generate. Obviously, having access to these other revenue streams offers greater security to the labels, theoretically allowing them to invest more heavily in artists. Conversely, it means that artists are now giving a share of revenue to their record label that, in years gone by, they didn't have to. So, with all this being said, what are the benefits of working with a record label? Well, the most obvious one is the immediate financial benefit. Getting an advance on your earnings will, in many cases, permit an artist to give up their day job and focus on music. This, in turn, increases their chances of success in the industry. By spending more time writing songs and touring, artists certainly put themselves in a better position to build an audience for their music. Artists working independently, in almost all cases, will not receive an advance to allow them to do this. The other advantage of working with a record label is the expertise that they can provide. Record labels have been there and done that in ways an individual artist usually has not. They have contacts throughout the industry, from PR to publishing, and can therefore build a team around their artists to give them the best chance of success. They also know the market based on their extensive prior experience, so can call upon this expertise when it comes to promoting the artist's work. A third advantage, often overlooked, is the passion that record labels share for the artist's music. It is a sad misconception that record labels, and the music industry more generally, are some kind of homogeneous corporate entity simply out to exploit the work of more creative individuals. In reality, record labels are staffed, run, and owned by people who love music. Many have been musicians at some point themselves. As such, they can really offer a valuable personal contribution to the artist's creative output, from helping them develop their sound and image, to finding them opportunities to work with talented writers and producers to generate amazing new tracks. Record labels choose to work with the artists that they believe in, and want to see those artists succeed as much from the perspective of being a fan of the music as they do from a business point of view. It is therefore important to work with a record label who gets you as an artist. The right record label can be invaluable.